Hey guys, it's your boy MKS here, back here with another video. As I've said before in some of my previous videos, I'm a big fan of Italian football and have been since I was about roughly 12, 13, 14, something like that. So most of my life, really. Fortunately, I'm quite old now, so I'm going to be 38 this year, believe it or not. But anyway, that's why I'm making some videos about Italian football, and today is, as I said in my previous video, I've just made the anniversary of the first ever game played by Italy in 1910, I believe. Obviously on this day, 15th of March, against May against France. I hope I can think of some facts, and I've tried to read up about it, but I haven't really found out that many facts. So I hope I'll be able to think of some during the game. During the video. But anyhow, yeah. So number one, the Italian national team is run by Italian Football Federation, which is FIGC. I can't quite remember what that stands for, but you can always Google it if you want to find out. I think it's Federazione. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Italiana Gioco Calcio. As I said before, I'm an Italian football fan, but I'm not really from Italy, or I don't really know much Italian except for like some of the football words like calcio or whatever. But anyhow, that's the name. That's the organisation which runs Italian football, which is a bit like the English FA. And for those who don't know much about football, the FA stands for Football Association, but most countries, because England is said to have invented football, most countries, or at least modern football, most countries don't. Most countries have to have a specified title. So anyway, as I say, the first game was against France nationally. Number two, they play in blue and are called. They generally play in blue, sometimes play in white, but generally in blue. And the team is called Gli. I think it's Gli Azzurri, which stands for the Blues, which is strangely the same name as France. France's national team, but they normally play in a darker blue. And I suppose, for anyone who doesn't know football that well, if you play against each other and you've got similar kits, you have to sort of change because you have to wear different kits. So that's why most teams have 2 or 3 kits, so that they don't clash. So you can tell who's on your team and who's a rival player. And apparently, I think it was some Earl or someone they were named after. So that's why they're playing blue. I don't know if he wore blue or whatever, but I was trying to check out some facts on Wikipedia, but my attention span's not that great, and also I know Wikipedia is not always accurate. Number 3, Italian football is, I suppose, football is the number 1 sport in Italy, as far as I'm aware. And as I said, I only support Italy in football, so I'd love Italians to practice football as much as possible. And because Italy has a record in history, I think it could. I suppose it's for nostalgia because I've supported them for so long. So I'm hoping they'll practice more than other people and bring back some of those glory days, which looks like at the moment it's sort of going that way. But I just hope they keep up practicing and all that as much as possible. And I'd also love to go to Italy in the future and to discuss my ideas. Number 4, I wasn't sure whether to include this point towards the end or the last sort of point, because I think it's some of the positive sides of like success from history. Number 4 is Italy is the second most successful team in World Cup history, and World Cup being the most important event in certainly in national teams, certainly internationally. Second, tied with Germany on 4 World Cups each, and only behind Brazil. So I dream for Italy to be the number 1 in the future. So, but at the moment it's second, tied with Germany. Unfortunately, I think Germany has won more sort of European Cups. And number 5, I suppose, maybe I'm a bit biased, but I find it the most colourful and entertaining it's known to be a bit boring in terms of defensive football, but I find it the most entertaining in terms of like the colour and the passion and the vibrancy of the kits and all that sort of stuff. And the fans often have passionate songs and chants, mainly insulting each other, but I suppose, unfortunately, in my opinion, it's quite divided. But I'd love Italy to be more united, but in football at least. But they normally have insulting songs from rival teams. Number 6, Italian football is not particularly good on penalties. A random fact, I suppose, but being an Italian fan, as I say, I know the experience. Unfortunately, I can laugh now, but I know the experience of losing on penalties. I think probably only England really, or maybe the Dutch, have worse records respectively. But we've been out quite a lot on penalties, and against Brazil in '94, Italy had a chance to be the most successful team in World Cup history by winning. That would have been on 4 when Brazil would have only been on 3, but Brazil won that one. That's why they won ahead, I suppose. And I dream for the team to practice and improve penalties and learn that psychology. And conversely, like Germany, which is one of the main rivals, are really good at penalties. And as I say, most teams are better at dealing with the pressure. Number 7, Italian football, to be honest, is known mostly for defensive football, such as, say, for instance, it's known to be a bit boring and defensive and counter-attacking, so it's not as attack-minded as other teams. Which I'd love again to change a little bit. And I think it has changed a bit, but the culture is very defensive compared to like Brazil or even Germany or even many European. But South American football is much more attacking. European football is more tactical and defensive, I suppose. Number 8, this is quite a negative point, and I've got to admit, it pains me to say because I supported Italy for a long time because I think I look Italian and all that sort of stuff, as I've talked before in my previous videos. But Italian football is known to be quite racist, and it also has very extreme ideologies. There's many football clubs who are like left-wing, very left-wing, socialist and all that sort of thing, and there are many that are like right-wing, really right-wing, and fascist and whatever, even nationalistic or whatever the difference is. Like some probably even support Mussolini or even Hitler or people like that. And of course they work together, unfortunately. But it's something another thing I'd like to change. But it's very passionate, but unfortunately it can be very racist and very violent as well. There's a lot of football hooligans, so I must admit there are a lot of negative points with Italian football. But I do think passion is good, and I'd love it to be more centre right or centre left, maybe centre right. Say. As a libertarian, I'd love Italian football to be more libertarian, but also like to get on with other countries as much as possible and people from all backgrounds through football, like practicing football together and improve relations with migrant community and people from Africa and that sort of thing. And what I call the 4, as I keep mentioning in my other videos. Number 9, Italian football is known to be again very defensive and like a lot tactics. Defensive, like it's like almost opposite to Brazil. So it's like Brazil's very attacking and they look at how to score more goals than the opposition, whereas Italy look at how to concede less. And I think that came from the 60s when it was said, I think it's called catenaccio, which is it's counter-attacking football. And the saying is that if you don't concede, you can't lose. So the idea is to not concede many goals and try and score one and close out the game, which I think is a shame because I think I prefer more attacking football. I think it's more entertaining. I also think it'd be more successful because a lot of teams are successful when they're attacking. But I also think that it'd be good to keep those good defensive players. But a lot of good defensive players and a lot of Italian defenders are famous, which I mentioned in my previous video, like people like Alessandro Nesta, Maldini, Costa Curta, and players like that. Cannavaro, of course, how can I forget? So it's known to be defensive. And point number 10, I suppose, is that Italian football, and again, this is another thing I'd love to change, but it traditionally plays a lot of older players, as far as I'm aware. I'd love Italian football to develop more young players and win. Although we did have, I say we as a fan, we did have a phase where we won, a lot of under 21s in Europe. But I'd love us to win more international, especially at youth level. And I think the youth are the future, so I think it's a balance between having older and younger players. And if it was up to me, like the older players would teach younger players as well and bring them through. But yeah, one of the negative points is there's a lot of what they call ultras, which are like football hooligans. Apparently, football hooliganism started in the UK really, but it's been transported around the world. I'd rather they just take it, like win the game. That's the most important thing, in my opinion. But anywho, I'd love to know what you think about this. Sorry if I stuttered a bit or anything like that. But anywho, please let me know what you think or any other facts you know about Italian football in the comments below. I know you can find out more on Google, so please check that out as well. If you Google Italian football facts, and you're not as lazy as me to read them. Peace and love.